संस्कृतं स्वास्थ्य विज्ञानमिति शीर्षकं पुरस्कृत्य इदं सत्रम् आरभ्यते। अतः समयाभावात् अस्माभिः शीघ्रमेव समापनीयमस्ति। मध्याह्नभोजनवेलापि अतिक्रामति। अतः 10 निमेषपर्यन्तं प्रत्येकं यदि वयं पत्रम् उपस्थापयामः तर्हि समीचीनं भवति। I would like to request the dignitaries that we should complete this session within 1:30. So please take 10 minutes each, and I request the chair to continue the session.
Good afternoon, everybody. Honorable Vice Chancellor and the learned audience and the speakers of this occasion. It is a quite interesting session because today we are living in the era of super specialty, is it not? For lungs we have a pulmonologist, for heart we have a cardiologist, we have for joint pain you have got a rheumatologist. Like this we are living in the era of super specialty. In this scenario, how a ancient knowledge that's there in the Sanskrit or Pali Prakruta, which has been transferred into the medical science. And it is quite interesting that the purpose of earlier granthas was moksha. That was the Sanskrit Sanatana Dharma concept. How still in the era of super speciality, whether you call it as a myth or a superstition, even for a problem suffering with what you call the related the hepatological disorders, people prefer the amalaki as one of the important phenomena. So these are the things which are, and is quite always significant because of many things. First thing, we are living in the era of globalization, one. So globalization is to pick up everything best from everywhere, that's all. So the ancient knowledge of health sciences, either maybe in Atharveda or in Ayurveda or Bhagavad Gita, whatsoever, they are to be utilized, one thing. And second, the formulations which are there in the herbal earlier, it is a very big industry. There is a magazine called Pharma Pulse which comes into the one. It has identified that nearly $60,000 billion money is spent for the purpose of preparing these, the herbal or the Vanaushadhis, Aushidhravyas. This is the big money as far as the world economy is concerned. You cannot ignore a system or a knowledge, whatever may be in there, that should be accepted. And another thing, for several non-communicable disorders, the ancient knowledge has become anything. Usually, kalartha karmanam hinam ityati matrako sammag yoga or aro ekam. This speaks about how the lifestyle disorders are going to manifest. So, the other important thing, that is the present day, the knowledge which was there in the Sanskrit, either it may be from Ayurveda, Atharveda, or from Yoga Shastra, Shiva Samhita, Gheranda Samhita, etc. They are relevant because of many things. I will quote only one thing. What are the diseases which are classified by our acharyas since long time in the Sanskrit knowledge? They still continues to be same. I will take one of the simplest example, then I conclude my remarks. Prameha, everybody knows. In Samskrita, particularly in Ayurveda, they have mentioned about the asadhya vadis. Even today they said to be asadhya vadi only. This is a knowledge I am telling. Why they are relevant? This session has been arranged. It is an ancient knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, living in the era of super speciality, why an ancient is such a old, we say 2003, that's different. So why we need? So the reason is this, the diseases which are being classified long ago, they are still relevant. Take one example of Grahini, which is called as irritable bowel syndrome. If a patient complains of alternate diarrhea and constipation, deem it as Grahini. Even today, symptomatology for Grahini is Muhurbaddham Muhurdram, not changed. Even for the Madhumeha or Prameha, Prabhuta Mutrata, Avila Mutrata, even today polyuria and the turbid urine is the criteria. So what has been said by our by ancient knowledge, either the Sanskrit whatsoever, so that has been there's another reason one. I will take one example. All of you know that is Prameha or Madhumeha. Sarve Prameha apritikana bhavat vapnanti madhumeham. So today, we are living in the era of super specialty, as I mentioned earlier. Madhumeha or diabetes mellitus is not a disease only to pertain to medicine. It is now the role of endocrinologists are going to take place. Now, everything about pancreas, that is the cells of islet Angerham's, has been, beta cell knowledge is known, IHC, human chemistry is better known, and you have got a better knowledge of small to higher concept of insulins. So 1922, the best identified the insulin. Since then, new insulins, bovine and procaine, new insulins have come to the market. But still today, what is said now, you are getting into a condition known as insulin resistance syndrome. The drugs which are there, we have got, that's why in practical aspect of insulin, the word is there, pipilica, so ants to analogs. Pipilla correspond to ants. Earlier, the diagnostic criteria for diabetes was only that, because gadgets were. So the days when no higher gadgets were there, no sophisticated gadgets were, that time only they are able to identify. So therefore, the diagnostic criteria which are there identified, they are considered in the present day also. So therefore, the concept of Madhumeha, which has been Sadhya or Asadhya, even today tends to Asadhya in spite of advancement in the field of the what we call drug industry. And other important thing is one, that we are going to see a shifting trends in the drug industry also. So in 75, when we were 71 as students, there are only 2 to 3 seekers of the Indian medicines or the herbals. Now it's a big shift, 25% is there. So these are the present medical scenario. And among all the existing medical scenario, you are going to see the only infectious surgical disorders can be managed. Nearly another 80% disease, we have to live with the disease, we have to live amidst the disease. So this is scenario. So the diseases which are being classified by our acharyas or our ancient preachers and practitioners, even today tends to say. What has been said as one other example, Tamakas was related to what? Bronchial asthma, alleged bronchial asthma. The diagnostic criteria for bronchial asthma, alleged bronchial is asine labate sukham. The patient gets comfort only when sits. So this is to recollect that the ancient knowledge, whether either from Ayurveda or from Atharveda or from Bhagavata or from Bhagavad Gita, whatsoever, particularly dietary modulations which are mentioned by Lord Krishna is something amazing. So the methods how to take a dietary modulation, and they have said, Patte Sati Gadhartam, Aushadam Nishayani, Patte Asati Gadhartam Katham. What is the need of taking medicine when you are not following medicine? What is the need to take medicine when you are following diet? So these are the principles which remain today relevant or significant. So in this scenario, and coming back to the yoga was the purpose of yoga is a philosophy of mind. It is a darshana for Manashastra. Even today, yoga is considered to be one of the important criteria for managing several disorders, endocrine disorders, or some of the spiritual, which are thought earlier. See, look at the definition of health also. Samadosha Samagnisha, and sir is going to talk about swastha and so now the definition of health is being WHO supposed to be the alma mater for defining the health policies. It has modified the definition of health just only from physical well-being 50, 60 years back. After not only physical, mental well-being, after some time they said not only physical and mental, they grouped the social well-being, and that's the social and preventive medicine advanced. Now, the definition of health sphere completes physical, mental, social, and spiritual. Spiritual is Adhyatmika Arogya, is borrowed by the Asian countries. So this is to recollect ourselves. The philosophies which are laid down in Sanskrit, they are still relevant and significant. So Sanskrit is a treasure of knowledge. Whether you take the living, look at the Vedas, Dharmam, their directive principle 5, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, Ano Badrani Paschantu, Vasadeva Kudukam, Nahi Gnane Sadusham, all these principles which are remain, they are going to be very significant. So the knowledge which is there, so this has to be digged out. And they are known as Siddhantas, which are established in, so therefore revalidation is not necessary. It has to be accepted. So therefore, friends, telling that the health sciences, which are with the super specialty, super way of knowledge, understanding and management, in spite of that, they need the ancient knowledge, that is through Sanskrit literature, what are there in the identifying the health problems, health knowledge, concepts and solutions, etc. So our three great people are going to explore the knowledge. With these remarks, I invite the speakers for deliberations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. G. Gangadharan to present his paper. The paper is Sanskrit for Ayurveda and its contemporary relevance. Thank you, sir.
Coming here. Respected scholars of this great ancient language, Sanskrit, a galaxy of scholars have gone through these premises in last 2 days and tomorrow. I'm extremely honored to be part of this process of upkeeping the great science of Ayurveda, which is carried through generations through a great language of Sanskrit. When I think about Sanskrit as a language, which carries not only a science like Ayurveda, all of the Indian sciences, Indian knowledge system, are embedded in Sanskrit. It takes me to compare a 10-year-old circus artist to the language of Sanskrit. That kind of flexibility, that kind of adaptability, that kind of depth of the knowledge of that art and science is in Sanskrit. One of the very important thing that comes to my mind is the scholars of Indian sciences, not only Ayurveda, they are always worried or many times preoccupied by the rigor of the science. They don't allow any kind of distortion that should happen at any level of knowledge transmission. We all know that knowledge in Indian context happens through 3 levels of understanding of the knowledge. One is the tattva, the underlying principles, which is known and generated by people of high order of mental state, like aptas, who are well defined. The characteristics of aptas are highly defined in the system. They bring the tattva of the science. Then there are great array of scholars who are the shastrajnas, the shastris, the knowledge, they understand the permutation, combination of the different aspect of the science, who knows the Tantra Yuktis, who know how to develop Shastra to different level. That's second level of Shastra. This is how the rigor of science goes. The third level of Shastra is at Vyavahara level. The Vyavaharis, the ordinary practitioners, put this
output of this great science into practice. They may not know in the undermining meaning of many of subjects, but they are technicians, they are operators, but they do well a job at the field level. These are the three levels of knowledge in Indian context. Especially it is very, very much applicable to a science like Ayurveda, which is both theoretical, profoundly theoretical, but it is 100% practical. Otherwise, it has no life. So one of the reasons for Ayurveda, even today existing the way it is existing, and being the hope for the tomorrow's science, being looked upon by veterans in the scientific world of modern science and especially modern biomedical stream, that the rigor of the science, which can adapt and adopt to changing times. So one of the reasons for Ayurveda to stay the way it is staying is the language Sanskrit, in which the knowledge of Ayurveda is embedded. And the scholars of Ayurveda believe that science should be told in the most precise manner. We believe that matra labhal putra labho. If we are able to say one vowel, one word, we are so happy that we got a boy at home. That kind of happiness they used to cherish because they want to be very precise. They are very highly preoccupied with the rigors of science. And the science of Ayurveda, or many of the Vedic traditions' knowledge, are learned through 4 levels: the adhiti, the bodha, the ajarana, and prajarana. So all these 4 levels, which are incidentally told in Naishadam, are very, very much applicable to Ayurvedic science. So to do that adhiti, bodha, ajarana, prajaranam of the Ayurvedic pedagogy, the way Ayurveda is written is very important. It has to be concise, precise, rhythmic, and cyclical. All these parameters of a good Sahitya is adapted in Ayurveda. If you learn the Ashtanga Hridayam of Great Vapada, if you learn and study the Rudujadya, you may sometimes feel that Vagbada can partake across Kalidasa's artistic sense and ability to describe nature. So beautifully he described the nature so that we feel like studying it further. So all these components of knowledge are embedded in the Sanskrit language. Why I say this is that Ayurveda or Sanskrit is not a dry language. Many of the speakers before has informed us how beautifully it can be explained, the way the mathematics is included in that, the way how the knowledge are hidden for the right kind of people to reach. These are all techniques which we have been using for a long time. And many times you know that the Sanskrit uses, the words uses very cleverly and very, very, very aptly. For example, the word Sainthavam, all of us use. Sainthavam in a kitchen context means a salt, a kind of salt. Sainthavam in a battlefield context means a horse. Sainthavam Anaya, when it is said, in a battlefield context, one will bring a horse. In a kitchen context, we will bring a kind of salt. So this kind of nuances, which are very much part of a language of Sanskrit, is the uniqueness of this language. There are certain modern interpretations which are not understood by us before, but when we study the sciences of other epistemological background, we understand our sciences sometime better. One of the examples that comes to my mind, that there is a sloka in Vagpada. It talks about Bali Purushakarohi Daivamapyadivartade. It is a simple sloka which we thought that by karma we can change the destiny. That is one of the single meaning. But actually when you see the scientific inner layer meaning of that is that we have been thinking the frontiers of science till last 10 years, told us that genetics is the basis of everything. You change, you grow according to a genetic basis, which is formed at the time of conception, which cannot be changed. But the recent studies, last 10, 15 years of studies say that epigenetics is above genetics. The epigenetics which we created through our karma, through our activities, through our lifestyle changes, through our dietary changes, etc., influences the genetics and orders the genetics, whether it would be dormant or mutate. So this Bali Purushakarohi Daivam Pyadivartade, this kind of informations are there forever for us to understand and enhance our knowledge. That's why we say that Egam Shastram Adhyano na Vidya Shastram. We have to learn other sciences also somehow to understand our science better. One of the most interesting thing is that Ayurveda is sutra. And we say that Alpaksharam, Asandigdham, Saravad, Vishwadomukham, Astopam, Anavadyam cha, Sutram, Sutra Vido Vidhu. See, what a profound understanding of science rigor. When you talk about a lakshana of a thing, a definition of a thing, they don't leave any of the aspects that can distort that science at one point of time. So everything is added and at the minimum words possible. So a Shastragara, a Tattvajna has to put his mind, her mind, to make sure that whatever we say is absolutely 100% true to that subject which is in front. This kind of rigor is used in Ayurveda in everywhere. That is why Charaka, Sushruta and Bhagavad are considered as classics, because they follow this basic approach of scientific traditions of this country, and Ayurveda is one example. I think that is very important for us to know. The language, which is the basis of our cultural and our civilizational evolution, is Sanskrit, there is no doubt. All our scripts are written in Sanskrit. And this Sanskrit actually is a knowledge and an activity of the society, and also it is as good as in theory, as good as in discipline. All these three areas of communication, Sanskrit is a very important aspect. I think the slogas of Ayurveda, sutras which I explained, and they are documented in such a way that this can be explained at different levels of meaning according to the prapti or the expectation of the shishya who is sitting in front of you. So, hidahidam sukham dukkham, ayustasya hidahidam, manancha tachayatroktam Ayurveda. It's a definition of Ayurveda. It takes all the aspects of Ayurveda, health, not only at physical level, mental level, social level, everything is coming, how this is good, how this is not good, for as a health definition. And many of the time, if you don't know the Sanskrit language implicit meaning, we will not be able to get the essence of that Shastra. For example, the Rogastu Dosha Vaishamyam, Dosha Satmyam Arogada, you can explain it in different levels of that. A Rogam can be of a physical or a mental, or Vaishamya or Sarmya to have multiple meaning in this context. Since many of our previous speakers have given more elaboration to this aspect of the language, I don't dwell more into it. The complexity of the concept enshrined in the words, therefore, is impossible to comprehend by any other language or any other translation. That is the greatness of Ayurveda. This is a very good sloga, a very good stanza in Charakam. Anyone who reads who doesn't understand the intrinsic principles of Sanskrit language take an entirely different meaning. Varshe anudailam tad kaleshu trishu na ajare. See, anudailam like abhyangam, vyayamam are the things which is told in the previous context as a thing to be done as a part of dinacharya. It is known. But here it is told na ajare. And na ajare can be two meanings. Na ajare, which agasavarne dirgha, the natural meaning we take. But here the na stands for nr, nara. That na naro naraha, that is the vibhakti of that. That is taken into consideration. If you don't know that, you may interpret that in Trishu, in which the Anudailam should not be used in certain points of time in the year. Another important sloka which I would like to quote is that first sloka of Bhagavata, which talk about actually the essence of Ayurveda is in this sloka, Ragadirogan, Satadan Shaktan, Asheshagaya Prasadana Sheshan, Aulsikya Moharajan Jakana, Yo Aburva Idyanamottasmi. But the important things in this sloka is that Ragadi, a science of healing, a science of physical and mental health, which has to give importance to physical health like Jara, start with the sloka of Ragadi. And Ragam is an aberration of mind, Ragadveshas. And Acharya said that Raga are the basic reason, the root cause of all diseases. Of course, we accept it. And if you further a Bodha level, this is the Ajidi level we studied, if you go to Bodha level, either by your interpretation or by a very enlightened teacher, Raga actually, as per the Sankhya Shastra, come as Ra means 2, Ga means 3. These are the Sankhya Shastra. And it says that Raga, the 2 aberrations of the mind and the 3 aberrations of Sharira are the cause of all the diseases. Here also Acharya gives the importance of mind, because mind is the root cause of everything. So this kind of inner meaning which are in different layers of that language are to be understood by an enlightened person who wants to know this language. I think that is very important. That's why Sanskrit has to be there if you want to know the knowledge. There are many such examples for multiple meaning of same word, and different words are used for same meaning. I don't go to example. Saintham is one example, and there are many examples given by others. So in this multiple other ways, Sanskrit not only the language of Ayurveda, but an instrument of Ayurveda, and as much part of the Ayurvedic way of life as its other element. I think I cannot conclude without quoting an important sloka from Susruta. Yadha khara chandana bharavahi bharasya veta nadu chandanasya evam hi shastrani bahuni adhitya cha artheshu mudha karaval vahanti. So if you don't know the richness of the language, and if you know only one level of understanding, you be at the level of technician, Vyavhari. If you want to know, go deep of the science, to Shastra and Tattva level, a language like Sanskrit is very important for any of the Indian sciences, because it percolates through all level of knowledge creation and knowledge distribution. I think it is there are many other examples one can quote, but I thought these are the glimpses of the depth of this great language. And I have not seen any language as flexible, as profound, and as deep, which can comprehend any knowledge system into its armpit and give to any time zone or any geozones without any aberrations. That's why even today Sanskrit stands as the pratyasha, as the expectation of people who are thinking in forward way. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Priyansa Chatraha Samskritam Ayurvedascha Ataha Samskrite Katham Ayurveda Shastram Asti iti asmabhi Vyakhyanam Srutam. Now I request Manoj Shankar Narayan sir, please present your paper, Importance of Sanskrit Commentaries in Understanding Concept of Arogya and Anarogya.
Sabhaya Namaha. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to come out of my Vaidyashala to this Padashala to share my experiences with this Shastra, my challenges, my inabilities, and how a little bit Sanskrit reading helped me in understanding the unraveling of this great science. Now I know Bubukshitair Kavirasam Piyade Virojade Pipasde Kavirasam. This is a time. So nobody will be interested in this. So still I start with Pratnya Vivekam Labhade Bhinne Ragamadarsanaihi Kiyatva Shaknamunnedum Sadarkanudhavata Tasmad Prekshamananam Purane Ragamer Vina Anuvasita Virthanam Vidyanadi Prasidati. So I brought to all my gurus and acharyas who kept this Shastra alive. So this is the world. If I say everything in Ayurveda, nobody is going to subscribe. So people are thinking about integration. When you talk about integration, we have three levels. There's a textual level, and when you talk about a system like Ayurveda, the gaps are there. And in the case of Vyakarana, we are very fortunate to get a very systematic paddhati of bhashyas or commentaries. And that is the case with Nyaya Shastra also. But unfortunately, being a student of Ayurveda, we are not that lucky to get a systematic commentatorial tradition in front of us. So we will find the gap and the danger or the challenges that gap poses embedded within our Samhitas as well as in the later Granthas. For example, Chakrapani, the celebrated author who wrote a commentary on Charaka Samhita, writes in his clinical textbooks, Charagadyo Samuddhishtaha Vastayoye Sahasrachaha Vyavaharo Na Taihi Prayah Nibaddha Na Atrate. I haven't observed the practice of those therapies which are explained in Charaka and other texts. So I am not going to include this in my clinical handbook. So again, Sharangadhara, he makes, for example, we call it as Vyapat. Vyapat is a clinical side effect that we know that this will happen. So the Vaidya should be ready to manage that. When Sharangadhara compiled Panchakarma Vyapat, he replaces the Vyapat with Panchakarma Bhavaroka. So that shows Vaidyas were not that intelligent that they were supposed to be. So this challenges how we can deal. There are very clear methodology laid in our Shastras, and the same thing we can feel when we read Foucault also. When we read Foucault, he says, beneath the gross continuities of thought, beneath the persistence of any genera, form, discipline, theoretical activity, from now onwards, we shall try to detect is the incidence of interruptions. So for a student of modern Ayurveda, if he is not able to appreciate the interruptions, you will commit the error committed by Dr. D.P. Chattopadhyay in his monumental work on ancient science and society in India, where he says the old philosophical aspects which are inherent in the Vaidya or the Ayurveda is nothing but pure junk shop of orthodoxy. He misses the point completely. What that single line he wrote in his textbook, page number 12, it prevented lot of funding, lot of care to my system. So, since if we say that it is everything, we are self-encompassing, self-validated, this will not work. We have to see, we have to look into it, and this is what WHO also says. The cultural background should be taken into account, and on the other hand, however, they should not become obstacles to the application and development of traditional medicine. If you revalidate it, that revalidation should not be an obstacle. For that, what we have to do? We have to accept where we lost our track. So, I will not elaborate because of the force of time. There was a shift. This happened during the British era. The modern medicine was reserved for the British people, their soldiers. So, since Indian ruled area were also British citizens, they have to accommodate the health, wellness of our so-called Indian ruled areas. So they started looking into the indigenous medicine. And this indigenous medicine, they proposed some modification for studying. In 1938, a committee was constituted by the Bombay state, where Samhitas were replaced by text, Shastras by subjects. Ayurveda become an alternate, complementary or integrative thing. So this report was first responsible for detachment of Shastra or Sanskrit for an Ayurveda student. To impose textbooks in Sanskrit on student will be to put them under an intolerable linguistic burden. It was written in 1938, and the committee members were Sanskrit Pandits, but see, funding by us. British Presidency of Bombay is funding it, so they wrote according to their masters. And this was not new to Ayurveda. I'm just, with one instance, it's a recently digged out book from Bhandarkar Institute, Veereshwara Mishra's Rogarogyavada, where he wants to see Ayurveda from a perspective of a Brahmin, a real karma kandi. And he says, all the Roga Lakshanas and other Shastras are matra pralabamiva bhasate, bhranti. I'm not going to elaborate. So he just to put his needs front, he's criticizing the entire Ayurveda. Here, I was again taken back to my college days. My Nyaya teacher, who teaches our Padartha Vijnana, where Tarkasangraha is taught, he used to ridicule us because you look Shabdadharavali. This was the first Malayalam lexicon or dictionary, Agaradi. So Malayalam is nothing but Tamil plus Sanskrit. So our teachers used to look into this Shabdadharavali for getting explanation for Sanskrit words. So now we are at the luxury of all getting all these dictionary online, which was, as a student, I was not having that. I looked into it. I just saw all the definitions, they all define it as health and many of the times freedom from disease. So they are reducing the meaning into this. Same thing happens with our Vajaspatya and Shabdakalpadruma, Vyadhyabhavaha, Roga Shunyatvai. Why this is happening? They are compiled from Bengal. So the great Bengali scholar, Sushtuhu Avadishtade Nirogatvena Swastaha. So they are all simply following what Chakrapani said in a particular context. And there we will get a chance to rethink whether we are going in the right direction, whether we need to consult further or we to explore for people like me who don't have any traditional training in Sanskrit will be very difficult. But I met with a very important definition about Vyakhya, Spudarthīkarana Purvaga, Vistridarthīkarana Anukula, Vakyotpadana Vyabhorau Vyakhyanah. So only a person who is trained in Navyanaya can explain what it is meant. And this Aujitya we have to inculcate, that is what is told by the later Sanskrit exponents. And this Ubodhada, Prasanga, Hetuta, Avasara, and all these Sankatis, which Gangadhara explains, he is a bouncer for a normal student like me. And even, it is not easy nowadays, if we search online also, we won't get all the elaborations. So, with this, I will I will just come to what I am trying to say. I found a book which was only book now retrieved, written in Sutra way. And its Vyakhya is the only book so far I am aware titled as Bhashya. It is Narasimha Bhashya. And there he tried to define roga. Na rogaha arogaha. Aroga bhavam arogyam. Evam hyarogye parikalpyamane arogyam roga abhava matram syat. Tatra ko doshaha syat. Tal lakshana sadhana bhalanam asambhavah syat. Artha bhavasya lakshano bhavat. Avastuvaditi bhavaha. Tasmad atrayam nanyo arthaha anyadaha pratipathyade. Ayam cha pratishede saptva su artheshu vartade. Katam. Pratishede cha sattayam anyatve sadrishebhija kulsida alpa virahartheshu vivaksheja nanyo bhavet. So vivakshartha. Where there is arogya, there is no roga. Where there is roga, there is no possibility of arogya. The vivakshartha should be adopted. So how subtly, how beautifully student is given a greater canvas. It may be written centuries back, even before the WHO debated about health and its various nuances. Same, you can see, idamevaja roganam arogyabharanam tadarthalabha na punarutpano rogaha paschad arogyam avaharati bhava bhavayoho paraspara abhavatmakatvat. And Venu sir was explaining to me how, because this bhava bhavayoho paraspara bhavatmakatvat, it has a greater implication. You are responsible. Kalartha karmanam yogo hina midhyadi matragaha samyak yogascha vijneyo rogarogye karanam. Here, if you are a Mimamsaka or a traditional scholar, you can call it as karma. For a person like me, who is a student of Ayurveda, your prajnaparada is responsible. The prajnaparada which you commit is responsible for the utpatti of roga and not the roga that is going to destroy. So, and again, if you, from a clinician's point of view, he explains, ka punaraso rokaha, avastha vishishto doshaha. And again, he classifies many of our friends who are used to take alcohol. They will usually get their liver function test regularly. And they will show that result and say, see, I'm very happy. So, this was the case in during that edat prakrite viruddhamannam samyoga samskara vasateyam ityatya vijnaya yadeshta jeshta. So people used to follow all the junk foods, all these things. So those who are healthy by fortune, they are called as yadrishchikaha. And who is healthy? Somebody who is under the vigilance of a physician. He is called Bishak Paripalitaha. So, such nuances, and these are only got from our commentaries. And again, Soste, Bishak Paripaliteja, Prakriti Sosteja, Sarve Kriyaha Pratishitaha. If you are, for example, in our Kerala, this is this Ashada Masa, Karkadaga Masa, Adi Masa, all your YouTube, your Facebook, your TV channels will be flooded with announcement. Karkadaga Chikilsa, you come, you do it, rejuvenate. Now after this COVID, they are not using the immunomodulatory of that. And here he says, Soste, Prakriti Soste, Sarva Kriyaha Pradishittaha. So if you are Sosta, there is no need for any Kriya. So such, and again, another stupid coinage has been there. Sukha Chikilsa. Through Chikilsa, you are getting Arogya, it is called Sukha. You are saying Sukha Chikilsa. How to explain that? I will never try to explain to my students or with my friends and other people. Say, they cannot understand it. So, that is it. Okay. Prakriti. We all talk about genomics and Prakriti. You will not get a good, better definition. Prakritir nama, janma marana andarala bhavini, गर्भक्रांति समये स्वकारोद्रेकजनितः निर्विकारिणी दोषस्थितिः. So I am just concluding it, and again there are many things for, only a person like Sir can explain combinations of rasas, and this Rasavaisheshika Sutrakara explains more than 644 combinations of Shadrasas. How it is taken, Dominic Ujastic has done a paper on 63 combinations, and he is giving some calculus formula, which is also a bouncer for me. And with this few words, I wish to dedicate this to two great scholars. Dr. Gyan Muhlenbell single-handedly wrote history of Indian medicine. I am very fortunate to be associated with him. Bhaskar N.S. Moose, who digged out the palm leaves, he set up his own printing press during 70s and printed all the Kerala manuscripts which preserve the tradition of Sanskrit commentatorial tradition of Kerala. So, Vishajam Sadhuvrittanam Bhadramagamashalinam Abhyasta Karmanam Bhadram Bhadram Bhadravilashanam. If any trudis or any shortcomings, it is because of my limitation. Credit goes to all teachers like Venu sir. Namaskara.
धन्यवादः महोदयः. थैंक यू वेरी मच. संस्कृत आंग्ल भाषाभ्यां भवदीयं पत्रं तत्र आरोग्य अनारोग्यस्य च अवधारणस्य अवगाहने संस्कृत भाषणं महत्त्वमिति अति अद्भुतम्. इदानीम् अस्य सत्रस्य अन्तिमं पत्रं एस् वेणुगोपालन् महोदयानां वेदादिशास्त्रेषु सुस्थितिः, वेलनेस इन वेद एंड अदर स्क्रिप्चर्स. अहं निवेदनं करोमि शीघ्रं स्थापयन्तु, यतोहि भोजनसमयः आगच्छति. धन्यवादः.
न जानामि शब्दं न जानामि चार्थं न जानामि गद्यं न जानामि पद्यं चदेका षडास्या हृदि द्योतते मे मुखान् निस्सरन्ते गिरश्चापि चित्रम्. श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. वेलनेस इन वेदास एंड अदर स्क्रिप्चर्स इति शीर्षकं स्वयं मया गृहीतं. तस्य स्वास्थ्यम् इति संस्कृते व्यवहारः अस्ति. स्वास्थ्यं नाम स्वस्थस्य भावः. को नाम स्वस्थः? स्वस्मिन् तिष्ठति इति सामान्यतया सशब्दः निरुच्यते. स्वं नाम किम् इति विचारणीयं. तत्र आत्मा मनः इन्द्रियाणि इत्येतत् त्रितयमेव स्वम् इति पदेन अवगम्यते. तथा हि सुश्रुतः स्वास्थ्यविषये लक्षणम् एवं ब्रवीति. समदोषः समाग्निश्च समधातुमलक्रियः प्रसन्नात्मेन्द्रियमनाः स्वस्थः इत्यभिधीयते इति. तत्र दोषधातुमलामूलं सदा देहस्य सम्भवेति यः आयुर्वेदीयसम्बद्धः विचारः अस्ति तत्सर्वम् आयुर्वेदज्ञाः कुर्वन्ति. पश्चात् उत्तरार्धे विद्यमानः यः विशेषः अस्ति तं मात्रमहं किञ्चिदेव विचारयितुम् इच्छामि. प्रसन्नात्मेन्द्रियमनाः स्वस्थः इति. प्रसन्नानि आत्मा च इन्द्रियाणि च मनः च आत्मेन्द्रियमनांसि. प्रसन्नानि च तानि आत्मेन्द्रियमनांसि यस्य सः प्रसन्नात्मेन्द्रियमनाः इति स्वस्थस्य विशेषणतया दीयते. कथम् आत्मनः मनसः इन्द्रियाणां च स्वास्थ्यं सम्भवितुमर्हति इत्यत्र मात्रम् अस्माकम् अद्य इदानीं विचारविषयः भवति. अतः तत्र मात्रम् अहम् अवदधामि. तत्र एवं किञ्चन पद्यं प्रसिद्धं वर्तते. एकं शास्त्रं वैद्यमध्यात्मकं वा, सौख्यं चैकं सुखं वा तपो वा, वन्द्यश्चैको भूपतिर्वा यतिर्वा ह्येकं कर्म श्रेयसं वा यशो वा इति. अध्यात्मशास्त्रमिति वेदान्तशास्त्रं यदस्ति, आयुर्वेदशास्त्रम् इति यदस्ति, तद्वयमपि समानमेव एकमेव शास्त्रम् इति वदति. तन्नाम द्वयोः शास्त्रयोः लक्ष्यं समानमस्ति इति. ततश्च जीवस्य पुनर्जन्मराहित्यस्य सम्पादनम् एव अध्यात्मशास्त्रस्यापि लक्ष्यम्, आयुर्वेदशास्त्रस्यापि लक्ष्यम्. अतः विविध इन्द्रियाणां स्वरूपं कार्यं तेषां स्थैर्यं केन हेतुना तन्नाशो भवति इति विषयः मात्रम् आयुर्वेदे अस्माभिः विचार्यते. परन्तु सर्वस्यापि विचारस्य लक्ष्यं चरकसंहितायाम् एवं दृश्यते. विघ्नभूता यदा रोगाः प्रादुर्भूताः शरीरिणां तपोपवासाध्ययन ब्रह्मचर्यव्रतायुषां तदा भूतेषु अनुक्रोशं पुरस्कृत्य महर्षयः समेताः पुण्यकर्माणः पार्श्वे हिमवतः शुभे इति. किमर्थम् इमे महर्षयः शुभे पार्श्वे हिमवतः समवेताः इति चेत् ते परस्परं मन्त्रं चक्रुः. धर्मार्थकाममोक्षाणाम् आरोग्यं मूलमुत्तमं, रोगाः तस्य अपहर्तारः, श्रेयसो जीवितस्य च इति. अतश्च तपोपवासाध्ययन ब्रह्मचर्यव्रतायुषां सामान्यानां स्वास्थ्यसम्पादनाय आयुर्वेदः स्वर्लोकात् भूमौ अवतारितः. अतः आयुर्वेदस्य लक्ष्यं न केवलं शरीरस्य स्वास्थ्यसंरक्षणम् अपि तु मोक्षमाणानां जीवानां सर्वेषामपि आत्मरक्षणाय तदर्थं मनोनिग्रहाय तदर्थं शरीरपोषणाय आयुर्वेदः उपदिष्टः। अतः आत्मरक्षायै वेदान्तशास्त्रं विद्यते। उपनिषदः भगवद्गीता इत्यादयः ग्रन्थाः आत्मरक्षार्थं तन्मोक्षार्थं च मार्गम् उपदिशन्ति। मनः च आत्मानम् इन्द्रियैः सह सम्बध्नाति इति आयुर्वेदमनोविषयकः विचारोऽपि सुतरां प्रस्तुतः। योगदर्शने पातञ्जले तद्विषये यथेष्टं विचार्यते। अतः सत्रेऽस्मिन् योगविषयेपि पृथक् विचार्यते इति तदपि अहम् इदानीं न विचारयामि। इन्द्रियपेटिकारूपस्य शरीरस्य विषये आयुर्वेदे यथेष्टं विचार्यते, तदपि वैद्यवराः सम्यक् विचारितवन्तः एव। अतः साक्षात् आयुर्वेदग्रन्थेभ्यः बहिः आरोग्यविषये स्वास्थ्यविषये च ये विचाराः अस्माभिः असकृत् सन्दर्भान्तरेषु श्रूयते तानेव विषयान् अहम् अत्र भवतां समक्षं किञ्चिदिव प्रस्तोतुमिच्छामि। अत्र आदौ वेदेषु आरोग्यप्रवर्तनाय यथेष्टं मन्त्राः दृश्यन्ते। विशिष्य ऋग्विधानं सामविधानं यजुर्विधानम् इति कर्मकाण्डप्रकरणे नाम कर्मविपाकप्रकरणे अनेके मन्त्राः अस्माभिः उद्ध्रियन्ते। अथर्ववेदे पौष्टिकमन्त्राणि शान्तिमन्त्राणि इति अनेकानि तत्र मन्त्रविशे अनेके मन्त्रविशेषाः अस्माभिः दृश्यन्ते। वस्तुतः मणिमन्त्र औषध इत्येव पृथक् शीर्षकं वर्तते अस्माभिः विचार्यतया। अतः एतत् त्रिकं कर्मविपाकविचारसन्दर्भे बहु प्रसिद्धं। यजुर्वेदे सूर्यनमस्कारमन्त्रः बहु प्रसिद्धः भवति। एकः प्रश्नः सम्पूर्णतया आरण्यकभागे तदर्थमेव पृथक् कृतो वर्तते। तत्र आरोगो भ्राजः पटरः पतङ्गः स्वर्णरो ज्योतिषीमान् विभासः इत्यादि मन्त्राः आरोग्यस्य सूर्यस्यैव अहम् अपश्यमहमेतान् सप्तसूर्यान् इति सप्तसु सूर्येषु एकः अरोगः इत्यनेन एव प्रसिद्धः वर्तते। अतः आरोग्यं भास्करादिच्छेत् इति वचनात् आरोग्यकामाः सूर्यस्य नमस्कारं प्रार्थनाश्च अवश्यं कुर्युः इति ज्ञायते। वचनमप्यस्ति आदित्यस्य नमस्कारं ये कुर्वन्ति दिने दिने जन्मान्तरसहस्रेषु दारिद्र्यं नोपजायते इति। अत्र दारिद्र्यम् आरोग्यस्य दारिद्र्यं तस्य नोपजायते, तत्र तु धनदारिद्र्यं। पुनर्मामयित्विन्द्रियं पुनरायुः पुनर्भगः पुनर्ब्राह्मणमयितुम इति मन्त्रः तत्र सूर्यनमस्कारप्रश्ने एव श्रूयते। तत्र सर्वेपि मन्त्राः आरोग्यकामभिः एव उच्चार्यते। संवत्सरमेतद्व्रतं चरेत् बहुवा मासो इति तत्र नियमाः अपि एतेषां मन्त्राणाम् उच्चारणे अस्माभिः ज्ञायन्ते। अच्छिद्राश्वमेधप्रश्नेपि उद्यन्नद्यमित्रमः आरोहन्नुत्तरान्तिमं हृद्रोगं मम सूर्य हरिमाणञ्च नाशय इत्येव मन्त्राः श्रूयन्ते। एवम् आवातवाहि भेषजं विवातवाहि यद्रपः इति वस्तुतः वयं पश्यामः चेत् पञ्चभूतानामपि प्रार्थनारूपतया ये मन्त्राः श्रूयन्ते ते सर्वेपि आरोग्यकामनया क्रियन्ते। यतः अस्माकं शरीरं पाञ्चभौतिकं, पञ्चभिः भूतैः एव अस्माकं शरीरं निर्मितं वर्तते इति कारणेन यत्र यत्र वयं पृथिव्यादि पञ्चमहाभूतानां प्रार्थनारूपान् मन्त्रान् पश्यामः तत्र सर्वत्रापि फलतया आरोग्यमेव सम्प्रार्थ्यते इत्यतः वेदेषु अनेके मन्त्राः अस्माभिः श्रूयन्ते। वस्तुतः पृथिव्याः मन्त्रः एवं श्रूयते, या जाता ओषधियो देवेभ्यस्त्रियुगं पुरा मन्दामि बभ्रूणामहगं शतं धामानि सप्त च शतं वो अम्बधामानि सहस्रमतवोर्हुः अथ शतक्रत्वो यूयमिमं मे अगदं कृत इति। अगदं गदं नाम विषम्, अगदं नाम निर्विषं, नाम समग्राः अपि इमाः ओषधयः अस्माकं शरीरम् अगदं कुर्वन्तु इति अत्र तत्र प्रार्थनया भवति। हिरण्यवर्णाः शुचयः पावकाः इति अब्लिङ्गाः ये मन्त्राः भवन्ति तत्र आपो वा इदगं सर्वं विश्वा भूतान्यापः प्राणावः आपः इति एवं तेजसि एवं मामायुषा वर्चसा संज्ञा मेधया एवं तेजसः अपि आवातवाहि भेषजं विवातवाहि यद्रपः इति सर्वत्रापि सर्वेष्वपि भूतेषु याः प्रार्थनाः क्रियन्ते सर्वेपि ते मन्त्राः आरोग्यविषये एव मतिं कुर्वन्ति इति। संहिताभागेपि मन्त्रभागे ऐन्द्रं वा ऋणमालभेत स्वैनभागधे यौनोपधावति इन्द्रियं दधातीन्द्रियाव्येव भवति इति। इन्द्रियकामः नाम इन्द्रियाणां बलं वयं कामयामहे। ऐन्द्रनामकः अग्निहोत्रयागः दधि गुणकः यः यागः भवति सः अपि इन्द्रियप्रार्थना एव क्रियते इति वयं ततः वयं दध्नेन्द्रियकामस्य जुहुयात् इति तस्मिन् प्रकरणे वयं पठामः। अतः एवम् अन्यापि मन्त्रः भवति। अन्नसूक्तं भवति अहमस्मि प्रथमजातस्य पूर्वमग्नेरविदहत्यन्नम् अहमन्नमन्नमदन्तमद्मि इत्येवं मन्त्रः तत्र श्रूयन्ते। एवम् अक्षिभ्यां न्यासिकाभ्यां ऋग्वेदे मन्त्राः श्रूयन्ते इति साममन्त्रः आहारशुद्धौ सत्त्वशुद्धिः सत्त्वशुद्धौ ध्रुवा स्मृतिः इति छान्दोग्य उपनिषदि मन्त्रः श्रूयते। एवं वेदे अनेके आरोग्यकामनाः मन्त्राः श्रूयन्ते। वस्तुतः महाभारते वयं पश्यामः चेत् शीतोष्णे चैव वायुश्च त्रयः शारीरजागुणाः तेषां गुणानां साम्यं यत् तदाहुः स्वस्थलक्षणम् इति महाभारते स्वस्थलक्षणं नाम वेदेषु मन्त्राः भवन्तु, वेदेतरेषु अनेकेषु ग्रन्थेषु आयुर्वेदस्य नाम आरोग्यस्य विषये अनेके विषयाः अस्माभिः श्रूयन्ते। चाणक्यनीतौ धनं रूपम् अवैक्लव्यं धनं कुलं सुमङ्गलं धनं यौवनम् अम्लानं धनम् आयुर्निरामयम् इति तदपि निरामयम् आयुः अपि धनत्वेन परिगण्यते। महाभारते अर्थागमो नित्यम् अरोगिता च प्रिया च भार्या प्रियवादिनी च वश्यश्च पुत्रो अर्थकरी च विद्या षड्जीवलोकस्य सुखानि राजन् इति। शार्ङ्गधरपद्धतौ आरोग्यं विद्वत्ता सज्जनमैत्री महाकुले जन्म स्वाधीनता च पुंसां महदैश्वर्यं विनाप्यर्थैः इति श्रूयते। कुमारसम्भवे अपि क्रियार्थं सुलभं समित्कुशं जलान्यपि स्नानविधिक्षमाणते अपि स्वशक्त्या तपसि प्रवर्तते शरीरमाद्यं खलु धर्मसाधनम् इति तत्रापि आयुर्वेदस्य विषये नाम आरोग्यस्य विषये एवं क्रियते। वस्तुतः वयं पश्यामः चेत् प्रातरुत्थाय रात्रौ स्वापपर्यन्तं यद्यत् वयं कार्यं कुर्मः तत्र सर्वत्रापि विभिन्नेषु ग्रन्थेषु आरोग्यस्य विषये अस्माभिः द्रष्टुं शक्यते। वस्तुतः व्यायामस्य विषये शनैरर्थः शनैः पन्थाः शनैः पर्वतमारुहे शनैर्विद्या च धर्मश्च व्यायामश्च शनैः शनैः इति कथं व्यायामः करणीयः इति। शिशुपालवधेपि स्थाने शमवतां शक्त्या व्यायामे वृद्धिरङ्गिनाम् अयथा बलमारम्भो निदानं क्षयसम्पदः इत्यस्ति। परिश्रमो मिताहारः भूगतौ अश्विनीसुतौ पावनादित्य नीवाहं वैद्यमन्यं समाश्रये इति श्रूयते। वस्तुतः मनुस्मृतौ स्नानविषये न स्नानमाचरेत् भुक्त्वा न आतुरो न महानिशि न वासोभिस्सहायस्रं न अविज्ञाते जलाशये इति। पानीयविषये पानीयं प्राणिनां प्राणाः विश्वमेव च तन्मयं न हि तोयाद् विना वृत्तिः स्वस्थस्य व्याधितस्य वा इति। रात्रौ शयनसन्दर्भेऽपि अस्माकम् आरोग्यविषये यथेष्टं श्लोकाः दृश्यन्ते। वृतावृतौ स्वदारेषु सङ्गतिश्च विधानतः ब्रह्मचर्यं च तत्प्रोक्तं गृहस्थाश्रमवासिनाम् इति। प्रश्नोपनिषदि प्राणं वा एते प्रस्कन्दन्ति ये दिवा रत्या संयुज्यन्ते ब्रह्मचर्यमेव भवति तत् यद् रात्रौ रत्या संयुज्यन्ते इति। प्रातः दन्तधावनादारभ्य रात्रौ शयनपर्यन्तं ये ये तत्र यान्यानि अनुष्ठानानि अस्माभिः आद्रियन्ते तत्र सर्वत्रापि आरोग्यं कथम् अस्माभिः संरक्षितुं शक्यते इति यथेष्टम् उल्लेखाः दृश्यन्ते। एतत् सर्वमपि संस्कृतजगति अत्यन्तं प्रसिद्धं वर्तते। सामान्यजगदपि एतेन अत्यन्तं लाभान्वितं स्यात् इति प्रार्थनया अहं मम वचः अत्र विरमामि। धन्यवादः।
धन्यवादः महोदयः। अस्माकं छात्राः संस्कृतभाषया भवतां पत्रोपस्थापनं श्रुत्वा अत्यन्तं प्रीताः भवन्ति। न केवलम् अस्मिन् सभागृहे अपि तु आन्लैन् द्वारा सर्वे अस्माकं छात्राः विश्ववासिनः अपि शृण्वन्ति इदानीं प्रेसिडेन्शियल् रिमार्क्स्। अतः अस्माकं गुरुबसवराजमहोदयः प्रख्यातः आयुर्वेदविद्वांसः अध्यक्षं भाषणं कुर्वन्तु इति अहं प्रार्थये। पुनः सार्धद्विवादने अस्माकम् अपरं सत्रं भविष्यति। अचिरादेव निमेषत्रयेण ते कथयन्ति अनन्तरं धन्यवादार्पणं सत्रस्य समाप्तिः भविष्यति। कृपया उपविशन्तु।
Good afternoon to everyone. It's a concluding remarks as a responsibility of the President of this occasion. I congratulate all the three speakers who are committed in proper time limits and much earlier also. Because I was wondering whether these three scholars of great potentialities are there, how they are going to complete, and they have done justice to the time and the knowledge. I congratulate all the three speakers. And regarding the first paper, Dr. Gangadharan, who has got extensive knowledge in the field of clinical experience, and he has highlighted the importance of the Sanskrit in the Ayurvedic literature. And only to add is that in Ayurveda you have got Arsha Grantha and Anarsha Grantha. Arsha Granthas which are Charaka, Shushta, Vagbata and other are called Anarsha Grantha. And with this he has done justice to the how the Sanskrit is significant and relevant in understanding the Ayurveda literature. And the immediate next, Dr. Manoj Shankar Narayan, who did really justice to his talk, because it is a continued, in a way it was a continued part of that subject. The need of the commentators, the bhashyas are very, for everything we have got, bhashyas are there, bhashyas, commentators are very significant to understand in a proper way. Which if you look at any text, Shivadesana, Jajatacharya and Chakradatta, what has been mentioned, the Acharyas, even for a simple commentary, though we know very well we need the explanation commentary. So the hidden potential knowledge which are there in the text, which has been explained by our Acharyas, they have used the knowledge of Tantra Yukti. We have got Pramana Shastra is there, as rightly pointed out by the Gangadhar. That is, Saindava has got two implications of Tantra Yukti. In the war field, you have to bring the horse. In the kitchen, you have to bring the Lavana, Saindava Mana. So this way, the utilization of these things in Bhashyakaras, commentators, have the knowledge of Tadvida Sambhasha and again the Tharka, and they use their knowledge and they made the things to be easier. To make it very simple way, Ashtadhyayi is a very big topic in understanding Panini grammar. So Raghu Siddhanta Kaumudi is written to make it clear. So their Bhashyakaras, commentators have made the understanding the Roga and Arogya and Anarogya in a very proper way. And his Manoj Shankar Narayan's documentation was really appreciable. I am very much pleased to see those things. Congratulations. And nothing to say about our Venugopalan sir. He himself is scholar, and I am very much pleased to see some of the contributions which have been mentioned by from Kumara Sambhava and Kalidasa's contributions. This is really amazing, because in spite of my having experience of 40 years, I have never come across in Kumara Sambhava what is being told and etc. So therefore, he has tried to enlighten us with the knowledge of Sanskrit, and also he has properly explained how the swasthya and how the wellness is explained in the Indian literature. Apart from Atharveda and Ayurveda, this is really very good information for me also, sir. I always consider myself attending a seminars like this is itself education for me. I consider this as and it is always said, I conclude with the remark that is Padamadatte Acharena, Padamadatte Sahapatibhya, Padamadatte Jignasa, Padamatte Kalakarmena. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
धन्यवादाः. सभामर्यादा पुरस्सरम् एकेन वाक्येन सर्वेषाम् अतिथीनां कृते धन्यवादार्पणं कर्तुं डॉक्टर भारतभूषणरथः विनिवेद्यते.
I thank Mr. B. Gurubasarya, Mr. G. Gangadharan, Mr. Manoj Shankar Narayan, and S. Venugopalan, sir. Thank you, one and all. On behalf of our National Sanskrit University, we thank all of you. Thanks the audience, specifically some great scholars are there with us. I thank all of you, and our students are there. I thank all of you, students. Please come here by 2:30. Again, the second session we are going to start at 2:30. Thanks all.